Of course, this is the Washington State services they have for the National Guard service here. And much like Washington, as you can see, the emblems and the physical address as a service center apply the COVID-19 policy. At the, of course, the physical address of the Services Society applying 6500 36th Avenue in Northwest, Muslake, Washington. This is the Bravo 1 Company 1st Battalion, also the services they have at the 161st, carrying the COVID-19 policy, regulations, services, and the Washington State Department of License Department. Of course, this commercial license service, the Washington State Department of License Department, CDL 520408, number 10, number 20. Number 10, number 20, like the GTA bus here in Muslake, Washington, which connects to the Army base all the way to the Friday ETC Center and also the Grant County Courthouse that carries the COVID-19 policy regulations services. Making calls save lives. 1-800-373-7888 and also 1-833-900-1010 Canada. This is truckers are the eyes and ears of our nation's highways. Victims forced into sexual slavery need your help. If you are a minor working a lot of suspect pimp control, call 1-888-373-7888. Report what you know. WW Truckers Against Trafficking.org. Now, the service they have at the Department of License Department carrying the COVID-19 policy regulations services, investigating the COVID-19 policy regulation, carries a COVID-19 policy regulation services applying to the administration office, that carries the administration office to an executive order, that carries the service center at the administration office, and the administration office carrying the COVID-19 policy regulations and services. And the administration right carrying the COVID-19 carries a commercial driver's guide for the state of AAMVA. The AAMVA has a service applied to the administration office to carry the COVID-19 policy regulations. It has a Department of Licensing in Moses Lake, and also the Department of Licensing has Moses Lake Olympia staff members. Moses Lake Olympia staff members. And they have these disqualifications right off the bat. And also right off the bat carries COVID-19 policy, regulation, and services administration office that carries a individual automatic disqualification that carries an executive order. And that executive order that carries disqualifications right off the bat. Overview for CDL skills testings. They have the overview. Of course, you can't have any MIPs, minor in possession, minor in consumption, also the service security. Any drugs in possession, MIPs, MICs, or possessions, minor in possession, minor in consumption, or adult offenses, possession, drug paraphernalia, drug possession, drug paraphernalia, and also services they have like discrepancies on your technical names and transport vehicles for standard packaging processes. These are systematic automatic services they have for the international services out here at the State Army Base, National Guard. These are stiffy sentences, and these are disqualifications right off the bat. These has no negotiations. They have combination vehicle L brakes and anti-brake systems. These are driving combination vehicles. You have automatic overlook on side of the vehicle, internal inspections, tire conditions, tire inflations, lug nuts, spacers on bud, wheel spacing, brake lineage and disc pads, brake drum and rotors, brake hoses, lines, breaker chambers, and slack adjusters and push rods. lighting indicators. Now these lighting indicators carry a automatic service center, an automatic disqualification if negotiated as an individual automatic service center, as the inspection has it or a rumor has it, and they all the executive orders serving on the Incommercial Society of the witnessing it, testimony and department licensing, because they take pictures of you and you take your test and your eye test and service server, and they have a method to fully do a fully inspection, a complete full inspection. Your first, like your name of your component, while pointing and touching the item, of course. And while touching and looking at the item, it has a note of using method 2. Will not receive credit for completing the inspection, but not all components inspections criteria is covered or criteria varies of earliest inspected like item. You also not receive credit or identify and locate the items. While inspecting the engine compartment must be open. And you're testing in the vehicle of the cab over engine, like Ford blood carrying, and open the hood and also the engine and also the Cadillac converter, which is emission inspection for the smog that pollutes the air pollution here. And this is the Army base. We believe in a green. We're going to believe in a green state, Washington State, evergreen state. You know, the service they have in equipment failure, they have a left-right turn inspection, but during all this completions, these complete the same inspection for other like items. They must be identified, like the name of the component, the inspection of the zone area, the component of its location. And while inspecting this engine, the engine compartment must be open. And also, if you're testing in a vehicle in the cab over engine design, it is not necessary to tilt the cab, but most engine inspections are essentially through compartments, doors, fenders, wells, and looking through the grille. When inspecting locating underneath the vehicle, some scored items might be visible in plain view. You will also have a crawl under the vehicle, and you must be asked the general locations of the items cannot be seen, but located and pinpointed and located and touched and shown, identified each item. As an inspect outside the vehicle, you must tell the examiner about the difference in other axle, suspensions, brake system components. You must also tell the examiner a vehicle that has unique items on opposite side, or of course inspecting all around entire vehicle before the test to see any such items are called for. Now, properly examining, displaying license plates or trip permits or light indicators, the left right signals in front and backs, tail lights, and also brake lights and rights, four-way flashes left, right, and front, back. Now the CDL test skills conduct 3 segments. CDL tests conduct 3 segments, as I said: a basic control test and a road test performed in order. In order to disqualify any of these tests, just will be stopped apart, will not need to reschedule. And listen again, I will repeat myself. Test and road tests performed in order. If you disqualify for any of these tests, the test will be stopped at that part and will need to be rescheduled. Now, do not change examiners in using contract third-party examiners. Do not change vehicle or vehicle and equip does not sufficiently in this matter of what reason is qualified or what reason the service of that you had to stop that money, stop at that moment and reschedule. It says, do not change vehicles or vehicle equip does not vary from early test attempts. Complete all 3 tests of skill tests before the commercial learner's permit, CLP, expires. Now the permit is renewed and upgraded with skills being test completed, and also a test has been completed prior to upgrade previously passed segments and voided, and all 3 segments need to be retaken. The TPER is also used to meet skills demands in most cases, and also do not get to choose the type examiners you can use. Now, scheduling your test, you require driver, general vehicle, and also the information included where the test would be conducted in the skill test, initial and retest. I mean, schedule a minimum of 3 days before the test is conducted. Now, requiring those notices and reschedules tests a minimum waiting periods for non-passing tests and tests outlined below. General test rules. Vehicle inspection conducted before other subject skill tests. During this test, you must show the vehicle and safe driving. Now, you go to the Social Security office, you show them all the balance inquiry, the manifest records, you show them the bank inquiry, EFT transactions, and you'll show the services, and they show the direct deposits in order in this fashion. This is also the rundown and the discrepancies you have with the banks and the federal banks and the Federal Reserve and service of EFT transactions. And you show them your first and last name and also your bank statements, and you show them your tax forms, which you received from the Social Security office at Kennewick, Washington, on Grand Ridge, which is headquarters, 3 headquarters. There's Giza, Social Security office, and also the Social Security office has a credit service, and this Experian, and Experian, you got 3 agencies that does this credit service. You also got the federal services that conduct these services. And this driver passenger door power steering unit, water pump and unit belt, these inspections are indicated by visual, touch, and communication by mouth, and giving the awareness of what if you're identifying all of these items in such a way and manner, notifying that the inspection of these items are identified such like as by naming the component, for one. You got your equipment you run, which is your credit cards, your checkbooks, your direct deposit, EFT, with signatures, confirmations, and also your eye vision test, and also how long it has to regain your DFP, your diesel, your filter, your DPF, which is a region equipment for a diesel filter. This is a diesel filter. All students know that these costs, like John Deere Evergreen Implement, RDO, and John Deere Company. You run these tractors, you run these excessively, you run long hours, you'll haul these individual field hours. You got field agents at the security office, and you got these administration offices. You got this information of your Washington State Farm Bureau license, and that's carried on you, on person. You're at the airports and services you have to have it carried on person. These complete full inspections are thorough, and you disqualify in any way, such a way, and form, you get to reschedule. See, there's a disqualification identified items in such a way, or you drive and you do not hit a cone. Hitting a cone will not disqualify, but if you hit an object, you will be disqualified. And stop in such a way, manner, endangering yourself and endangering your passenger and others, they would be disqualified. Now, there is a knowledge test, a pintle hook inspection pintle hook test, and it has a lowering drawbar, has locking the pintle hook, also unlocking and locking the pin, opening the latch. And this latch and this secure trailer latch, this is a lift the lock handle away vehicle, under lock, clears the lock, seat on the hook body. You have these lock seats, you got this hook body, you got the lock handle, the latch. You got all these systematic individual subsection test knowledge criterias. They have these questions on your test that cannot answer them all. Read subsection 6.3 and 6.4. You might happen if the trailer is too high when you try to couple it. If you're coupling, how much space should be between upper and lower fifth wheel? Now, see the hook on the back of your fifth wheel? There's a lock onto the kingpin and true or false. You get trick questions. Now, so you know what the real answer is, that's the yes or no, or true or false. Drive, you need to raise your landing gear, of course, and also until you lift off the pavement, true or false. You got landing gear, you got aviation, FAA, you got this compound facility with electric cord and airline check, you got electric cord and trailer fasten safety catch, you got the air and electrical lines will be hit any moving parts of the vehicle, or what domains or what regulation service you got to tie up your words and wrap them up and twine them up and put them in a compartment nice and safe away from moving objects. Use lowering range. Using your low gear range is so equipped being raised to landing gear. Once free of weight, switch to the high gear range. Raise the landing gear all the way up. Never drive with landing gear only part way up, as may catch railroad tracks or other things. Raising landing gear, secure the crank handle, and that crank handle has a full weight of the trailer resting on the tractor. Checking the engine clearance between the rear of the tractor and the frame landing gear, and when the tractor turns sharply. So that John Deere Evergreen Implement tractor, the RT, the tank, the 956, or the RX. These John Deere, Milwaukee, Illinois services these factory from John Deere Company and John Deere RDO, John Deere Evergreen. You got these receipts, transaction services implying these. You got Pappy's, which is John Deere, and that's California. And you got Central California, you got North California, South California. And you got these fields, you got orchards, you got captures, you got strawberry patches. You got corn here in alfalfa here in Washington State. You got potatoes in Idaho, and of course you got wheat, you got barley, you got oats, you got grain operators, you got grain equipment, you got grain tankers in Columbia River, the mighty Columbia River in Kennewick, Washington. And these have these discrepancies and these management handling these service problems become serious problems or minor problems. And they have these test evaluation services for intent of your regulations and content of knowing your material, communicating to the Assure Safe Drivers Equipment CDL licensed, CDL certified people already. You have driver responsibilities, you got driver parking rules, you got communication rules, emergencies, loading and unloading discrepancies, and rules and regulations in the COVID-19 policy, regulations, and services. Applying the administration officer, carrying the CDL license itself, the driver responsibility, driving parking rules, communication rules, emergencies, loading and unloading, and also hazardous material products, and pose the risk, health, safety properly during transportation. And also the road signs and HM government regulation. Hazardous material include explosives, various types of gases, solids, flammables, and combustible liquids, and other materials because of the risk involving the potential conspiracy and consequence of the risk imposing all levels of government regulations and handling of hazardous materials. Now, hazardous materials HMR is found in parts in 171, 180, and Title 49, and the Code of Federal Regulations and Common Reference of Regulations 49 CFR 171, 180. Now, regulation contains the list of these items. However, the list of these inclusive of other materials is considering hazards based on profiling these material meeting the definition of hazardous materials and regulations. And we do have a hazardous material table. And you have to identify these hazardous material class, name of class or division, examples, and there's many examples like dynamite, flares, display fireworks, ammunition, blasting agents, explosive devices, propane, helium, fluorine, compressed, gasoline, ammonia, welted white, phosphorus, sodium, ammonium nitrate, and also peroxide, potassium, anthrax virus, and also the battery fluid, uranium, plutonium, uranium, and also food, flavoring, medicines, and fuel oil. There's combustion liquids, which is the hazardous material class, which is N-O-N-E. That's the N, as in Nebraska, O as in Oregon, N, again, like Nebraska. E, for, of course, the services as like EON, the regulation of periodic charge for the particle charge and the combination services. But this hazardous material class has named the class for each division. 1.1 is mass explosive. 1.2 is projection hazardous. 1.3 is fire hazardous. 1.4 is minor explosion. 1.5 is very intensive, and 1.6 is extremely intensive. And the division in class, this is 2.1, flammable gases. 2.2, non-flammable gases. 2.3, poisonous toxic gases. That's poisonous toxic gases. Now, 4.1, flammable solids. 4.2, spontaneous combustibles, dangerous when wet. 4.3, that's 4.2 and 4.3, spontaneous combustible and dangerous when wet. 5.1, oxidizers. 5.2, organic peroxides. 6.1, poisonous toxic materials. 6.2, infectious substances. 7, radioactive. 8, corrosive. 9, miscellaneous hazardous materials. ORMD, that's N, and that's O. ORMD, or regulated material domestic. NONNE. Combustible liquids. Combustible liquids, which is fuel and oil. We also have this regulation product services and the charts, and also a shipping paper appendix of your list of hazardous substances and reportable quantities. You got your 49 CFR chart, 7.10 hazardous material table, and also the symbols, hazard class division, identification numbers, the PG, the label codes, special provisions, exceptions, non-bulk and bulk. You also have the shipping paper. You have the to and from, the quality, the description, the weight. You also have the means of the shipper, the means of the special instruction, in a small box. It's coming to you live here, the Washington Army Base. Here